Yo, how's it going, everybody? This is Beanie, and welcome to my zone hitting tutorial for 2018. That's not to say I might not make any more zone hitting tutorials this year if there's something that kind of comes up. Hitting is a lot different this year, so there's a good chance that I might come out with another one, but this is going to be my first one, my really comprehensive one, and I'm pretty excited about this video because last year when I made my zone hitting video, it's the most popular video as far as views go. It's the most popular video that I've ever made for my channel, so I'm hoping that this video will kind of do the same thing and kind of be just as popular, and it'll help you guys out. But anyways, yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, before jumping into the actual gameplay of hitting and everything, I feel like this is sort of important to talk about first. I did this last year as well, and it's just lineup construction and how to construct your lineup and everything. I'm pretty sure most people that play this game already know that you might need to have a speed and contact guy at the top, and then you put your big time power hitters at 3 and 4 and all that. But one thing that people might not take advantage of in this game is the platoon situation and how all of that works out. So you always want to have definitely a couple switch hitters in your lineup, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I always try to avoid having a righty two righties bat back to back. I don't like having an Edgar Martinez and then Ralph Kiner batting back to back, and then Luis Gonzalez and Adrian Gonzalez hitting back to back. I don't like that because it gives your opponent kind of an advantage whenever they're constructing their bullpen and everything. They could bring in a right-handed hitter to face these two guys, and then they could bring in a lefty to face these two guys. And they have the advantage every single time. But if you mix them up like this, go righty, lefty, then if they want to have the platoon advantage every time, they're going to have to bring in a different pitcher for each batter. So, and they're just not going to do that. So at least when you have righty, lefty, you have the ability to have the advantage at least once or twice whenever they go out through the lineup. So always try to do that, and always try to have at least 2 or 3 switch hitters in your lineup. The more the better, honestly. Switch hitters are invaluable, even though I will say in this game, for reasons I'll later explain, switch hitters might not be as valuable as they have been in the past. But yeah, that's really about it for lineup construction. Let's go ahead and move on to gameplay. Okay, the first tip that I'm going to talk about with zone hitting is sort of a beginner tip. Sort of, if you're new to zone hitting, this will be kind of a training wheels version of zone hitting for you, so that you can eventually get to the more advanced things that we'll be talking about a little bit later. And that is, you know, it kind of flies in the face of a tip that I'm going to give later. But basically, whenever you have no strikes on you, 0 strikes, sit your PCI, your plate coverage indicator, sit it in one spot, don't move it, and wait for one pitch. Pick a pitch. It'll probably be something like a fastball. Pick a fastball, and if they throw that fastball in that zone, then you can take advantage of it and crush the pitch. That is with 1 strike. With 2 strikes, with no strikes, with 1 strike, just sit in a location and don't be as picky about the pitch. You can sit in one location, and whether it's a curveball, a fastball, just try to time it up. This will help you out with your timing. And remember, guys, this is if you're even a little bit used to zone hitting, don't use these tips. It's just for beginners. And then if you have 2 strikes, that's whenever you can't kind of use that as a crutch, and you have to react, you have to track the pitch, you have to take into account the tips that I'm about to give to everyone else. But until you get used to using zone hitting, this will be a really good way of you working out your timing and moving your PCI at the same time to where you can be an effective hitter. This is kind of how I learned to use zone hitting at first whenever I started playing in 2015. I started kind of using this method, and I wasn't good. And don't think using that tip that you'll be good, because you're probably not going to be. But what it'll do is it'll get you used to a lot of the different concepts that zone hitting has to offer, and once you're ready to open up your game, you'll be a lot more prepared for it. And something you can do if you're a beginner or if you're an experienced player that just needs to practice, what I like to do to practice is I like to come into the batting practice mode. I like to turn the pitch speed sliders up a little bit so that I have to react quicker. And I like to turn the hitting difficulty on Legend, where my PCI is going to be as small as possible. So I like to do that and make it really, really difficult for myself to hit. And believe me, I suck whenever I'm hitting. It's not a pretty sight, but what it does is it really helps me to see the ball as quickly as possible and to start turning on really fast fastballs and stuff like that. Now, this is something that I've done in the past to help me with my reaction time and stuff, but this year it might be a little less necessary because they've turned down the pitch speed sliders in online play dramatically. Like the pitches are coming in very, very, very slowly compared to years past. So I don't know if turning the pitch speed sliders up this year will necessarily help. It probably won't hurt you because it's a lot easier to slow your bat down than it is to speed your bat up. So I don't think it will really hurt you like long term or anything to turn the pitch speed sliders up, and there is a chance that it'll help, but unless they turn the pitch speed sliders back up in online play, it's probably not 100% necessary to practicing in batting practice this year. Just turn it on Legend, keep your PCI small, and try to be as precise as possible. Okay, and now to the more intermediate to advanced hitting tips. The first one is just don't guess. I know that I told you guys for the beginners to sit your PCI in one spot and guess for a pitch and all that. But if you're experienced with zone hitting, do not do that. It will not once you get to a certain level of skill, it won't help you. All it will do is hurt your game. You have to start figuring out different ways to get on base rather than just sitting your PCI in one spot and hoping that the pitcher throws it there. That's not a consistent way to play this game. It's a way to get better at zone hitting if you're very new to it. But once you're a little bit experienced, don't do that anymore. Just don't guess. Also recognize that there is a big difference between hitting opposite-handedness and hitting with the same handedness. If you're hitting with the same handedness, the fastball is going to be coming in slightly faster than it would be if you were hitting left-handed. Also, breaking pitches are going to be moving away from you rather than towards you, so that's going to make them a lot more difficult to hit. And because of that, I would lay off almost any outside pitches to a same-handedness type of hitter. I would not chase outside pitches that often, but especially outside breaking balls, like outside sliders. I would lay off them as often as possible because those are probably the most difficult pitches in this game to hit. A righty-on-righty slider has eaten me up and cost me outs so many times in this game. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, so same-handedness, just recognize those differences, and then whenever you're hitting left-handed, kind of take advantage of that and realize that you're probably not going to be getting that many breaking balls that are breaking in towards your hands, so maybe kind of sit fastball and changeup. That's not really guessing, that's using your intuition to kind of figure out what to expect whenever the pitch is thrown. And this next tip is probably the single most important tip, or it would have been the single most important tip in MLB 15, 16, or 17. This year, it's still important, but it's just not as hard to do as it has been in the past. And that tip is to take away the fastball. I still think it's necessary in MLB 18 to take away the fastball because if your bat speed just can't catch up to a fastball, then you're still exploitable. You'd have to have pretty bad reaction skills, I must say, but you will be exploitable if you can't catch up to the fastball. So your first focus in the game should be to prove to your opponent that you can turn on a fastball, that you can take a high and inside fastball and turn on it. So, if that makes you look really silly against breaking pitches for the first inning or two or something like that, that is fine. That's acceptable. You just need to prove to your opponent that you can turn on the fastball. That way, later in the game, he might offer you up some juicy, hanging, breaking balls to take advantage of, because he's afraid to throw that fastball to you because he knows that you have a quick bat. That's a very advantageous position to be in, so take advantage of it. This next tip is kind of exclusive to MLB 18. This wouldn't really be applicable in 17 or before, but that is, try to avoid swinging at low pitches at all costs. Something that guys like me and Pitching Rebel and a few other guys have noticed is that low pitches in the lower half, well, not lower half, but like lower 1/3 of the zone that are kind of on the line or slightly below it or slightly above it, are very, very difficult to lift this year. Your PCI can only go so far beyond the strike zone, not as far as it has been able to in the past. So that means that low fastballs that may be called for strikes, it's probably not a great idea to swing at them, because the likelihood of you getting that ball in the air and getting a base hit or an extra base hit or a home run, it's very unlikely that that happens. The more likely outcome is that you ground the ball to the second baseman or the shortstop, and if there's a runner on base, ground into a double play. So I would lay off of low pitches until it was absolutely necessary to swing at one. I really hope that they either fix this, or people don't really realize that this is the case and they don't start kind of exploiting it in game, because it is something that I haven't figured out that like a really good solution to right now. I haven't figured out a way to handle those pitches consistently. I'm going to keep looking, and once I find a way, I'll probably make a video out of it, but right now, it's a problem. It's a problem. So lay off low pitches and really take advantage of those pitches that are more elevated in the zone, and really punish those. So yeah. Take advantage of those. Also, another very important thing to remember is just to be disciplined at the plate. Really focus on getting good pitches to hit. Don't feel like you have to swing at every single strike. Don't be afraid to take a bad strike. Like I talked about, the low strikes. Don't be afraid to take those. Don't be afraid to take pitches on the outside for a strike if that's something that you struggle against. And really try to focus on letting balls go and taking walks, because I promise you, guys will give you walks if you let them. And if they give you a free base with like nobody out or something like that, oftentimes that is an automatic run, because it's like a fast guy, you can steal second. Walks are huge in this game, and it's something that kind of sometimes can separate the really good players from the best players in the world, is the fact that they aren't afraid to take a walk. They don't feel the need to chase runs. Don't chase runs. Let the runs come to you. Let the base hits and the bases come to you. They will come if you let them, if you're patient. But if you're just hyper aggressive, if you're trying to make something happen when it's not there, you're just going to continue to struggle. So just stay disciplined, stay patient, stay within yourself. Treat this like you are batting in real life, and I promise you'll have a lot more success. All right, now this next one is something that I get asked a lot. A lot of people ask me where I start my PCI, how I hold my thumb on the PCI, and all that good stuff. And I tell them every time, I basically start my PCI slightly up and in, just a little bit off kilter from center. I see a lot of people hear that and they think that I'm a little more exaggerated with how far I am off center, but I'm being serious when I say it's like a millimeter off center. It's just enough to get my thumb loose and feel like I have command of the zone. And what I mean by command is that I can get my PCI to anywhere in the zone effectively. And it just so happens that up and in, I feel the most comfortable with up and in, and it makes me feel like I can get to everywhere in the zone equally as effectively. One thing that I do see a lot of people doing is starting their PCI low. That is a terrible idea. It is way, 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 way easier to go from starting your PCI high and adjusting your PCI low if the pitch is low than it is to start your PCI low and then adjust your PCI high. That is incredibly difficult to do, and I would not recommend anyone trying that. It will not end up good, probably. So start your PCI up, and whether you want to start it slightly up, way up, up and in, up and away, it doesn't really matter. Just do what feels comfortable to you. But I would definitely, if you split the strike zone in two, I would make sure that to some extent my PCI was either even with that line or slightly above it. Don't start it below it. That is a really, really bad idea. Next, just pay attention to your opponent's patterns. And once again, this is not the same thing as guessing. Guessing is just saying, okay, he's going to throw a fastball right here. Oops, curveball. No. Pay attention to your opponent's patterns, because despite what you may believe, human opponents are very, very, very predictable. You'll start to see things like by the third inning, it's like, okay, this guy on a 1-2 count to a right-handed hitter, he really, really throws that slider low and away pretty often. So I've got to cover that part of the zone, and if try to lay off of it if it's a ball. But if it's a strike, I gotta punish it. I gotta figure out a way to get that ball and get a base hit. Or this guy really likes to pitch backwards. He really likes to throw a lot of changeups and then kind of throw the reverse changeup with the fastball. Or this guy likes to, this guy likes to come up and in often and then kind of break you off with a curveball. All of these guys have patterns to their game, and if you pay attention close enough, you can start to figure it out. Take advantage of the pitch analysis tab. If you can see that and understand it and kind of pick up things from that, I'm sure you can. I know a lot of people tell me that one of my biggest tendencies when I'm pitching is to throw low and in. I like to throw sinkers, and I like to throw low and in. I do it all the time. And I've done it since I started. I don't know what it is. It's just something I do. But yeah, and they're right. That is a tendency of mine. And if you are my opponent and you know that is something that you can definitely exploit. So just really pay attention to what your opponent is doing and exploit it. Okay, now this next one is something that is going to be the hardest thing for people to get good at. It's something that all really good zone hitters learn how to do effectively, and everyone does it to some extent. It's just how effective you are doing it that kind of separates a good and a bad player, and that is tracking pitches. Tracking pitches is something that I didn't know what it meant whenever I first started playing, and then finally I got someone to explain it to me, and I kind of knew what it meant. I mean, you can kind of infer what it means, but basically all it means is that you're tracking the ball from the pitcher's hand to the strike zone with your PCI. So you're basically just kind of catching it out of the pitcher's hand with your PCI, metaphorically catching it, and then you're following it all the way to the strike zone where you're literally catching it with your bat. So what the best ways to track pitches, everybody really kind of does it a little bit differently, but one of the biggest reasons that I start my PCI up and in is that it gives me a good angle to kind of lock in on the ball out of the pitcher's hand. And once it's out of the pitcher's hand, I just kind of try to follow it with the middle of my PCI, try to follow the ball all the way to the strike zone or to the catcher's mitt if I don't swing. This is just something, there's really no secret to tell you how to get better at it other than, well, actually, you know what? That's a lie. There is a secret, and I'm about to tell you in just a minute, but this is something that is just repetition-based. It's something that you need to go in batting practice or battle royale or ranked seasons if you want, and just practice and practice and practice and practice. And eventually, you'll be tracking pitches. You'll start to be very accurate with your PCI. But one of the best ways that I found, and I kind of stumbled upon this last year, but this is a really good way to help you with PCI control and with being able to track pitches and stuff. Go and make a Road to the Show catcher. Go and make a catcher in Road to the Show, and turn the defensive indicator. I think it's in the advanced settings or fielding or something. So go to the fielding settings and press R2 to go to advanced, and I think it's like catching defensive indicator. Turn that on. And what'll happen is a little glove will appear, and that's like your catcher's mitt. And the pitcher will tell you where he's going to throw the ball or where he's going to be aiming, and you're going to set your mitt there, and he's going to throw it there, and you're going to try to catch it with your mitt. And it's really like a 1-for-1 type ratio where your mitt goes where the indicator goes. And what it does is it really, really helps you with controlling your PCI within the strike zone. And it was incredible. I did a Road to the Show catcher for like a week. And when I came back to Diamond Dynasty, I was murdering the ball better than I ever had before. And I was like, man, there's really something to this. I felt a lot more confident with my PCI. So if that's something, that's kind of a pro tip right there. You got to leave a like for that. I mean, come on. That's a sick tip. I've never heard anybody give that advice before. But anyway, yeah, so leave a like on the video if you like that. But anyway, okay. Actually, I think that is going to do it for the zone hitting tutorial video. Like I said, there is a lot that is new about this game, so if there's anything that I missed or anything that kind of comes up or something that I notice that I think needs to be addressed, I will make a video addressing that. But yeah, guys, I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see y'all later, but until then, peace.